Lunox Jungle Nerf. New Hayabusa Ultimate. Hey guys, what's up? So we have a new update on Advanced Server featuring Hayabusa, Lunox, and the 10-ban draft picks. First is the nerf on Lunox. Her first skill in dark mode will have a lower bonus damage against jungle creeps. The developer said she was dominating the jungle after the previous adjustments, so they're nerfing it for balance. Another change is her ultimate, where they increase her cooldown by 5 to 7 seconds. No more unlimited ultimate with a 40% cooldown reduction. And that's all they have for her nerf. Remember, the developers did not adjust any damage on heroes, which means she will still be a good pick despite these changes. Next is the buff on Hanabi. They are cancelling the shortened bounce range of her basic attacks. As you can see, it's now back to normal. But in return, enemies in the bush will no longer receive bounce damage. Right here we have one Layla hiding, and if I attack the rest, the bouncing damage will not reach the hidden Layla. So that means you can now use the bush to hide from her attacks. There was also a buff on her attack growth where they increased it by 2 points, giving her better damage in the later stages of the game. Moving on, there's also an adjustment to her first skill Shield. It now gives better shield as you build more attack items. But in return, they had to slightly lower the damage to shield conversion by 10%. Overall, I think this is just a fair adjustment on Hanabi. It can be pretty hard to avoid her basic attacks even if you're hiding. The upside is that Hanabi gets a bit of damage and higher shield. Next is Hayabusa's experimental adjustments. His ultimate will no longer transfer to other enemies just like this. And the number of slash is lowered to 4. To increase the slash, you'll have to apply marks to one enemy. Each mark will add 1 slash to the enemy. And since he can apply 4 marks, the maximum slash is now at 8 times. And there's also a new feature that lets you deal damage to other near marked targets just like this. So I'm gonna use my ultimate on this Layla. As you can see, the other enemies receive damage as well. It's like an AoE ultimate, but they need to have marks to receive damage. But if the enemy is too far from where Hayabusa used his ultimate, they will not receive damage. As you can see, the other Layla did not receive damage. I think the range is somewhat like this. Another thing I've noticed is when the main target dies, Hayabusa will immediately stop his ultimate. He won't transfer to other enemy even if they still have marks on. Additionally, it seems the slashes are now faster compared before. It's pretty good since you don't have to wait too long. The developers also shortened his ultimate cooldown from a fixed 50 seconds to now this. At 16 seconds, that's quite fast, especially if you add more cooldown reduction items. You can probably use your ultimate to clear jungle creeps. And we're not done yet because they also made some changes to his first and second skill. First skill will have a higher energy cost of 40, but in return, the cooldown is lowered to 2 seconds. 2 seconds, which means it's very spammable. Meanwhile, his second skill will no longer cost energy. You can now move easily without worrying about energy cost. But in exchange, they added 5 to 4 seconds of cooldown to the skill. And they also removed the feature of the skill 1 cooldown reduction when using his second skill. I think this gives Hayabusa better teamfight potential because even if the enemy are clumped together, he can now specifically pick his main target without worrying about diminishing damage. On the old version, you can't use his ultimate if the enemies are grouped together. But now he can place marks on his main target and then use his ultimate to finish them. It doesn't matter if they're grouped together because he will only use his ultimate on a single enemy. The AoE effect is just bonus damage. But one thing they didn't mention is the removal of the damage increase on his marks. The only use of his marks right now is for his ultimate. Unlike before, it no longer increases his damage. I'm not sure how I'd feel about this because I don't really play this hero. What can our Hayabusa players say about these changes? Is it better or worse? Next is the buff on Nolan. They increased the energy regen from his passive from 10 to 15. Remember though, he was nerfed last week when the developers removed his Purify effect on his ultimate. So this is more like a balancing adjustment. Next is the nerf on Wanwan. After reducing her dash distance, she received another nerf on her damage. Her basic attack scaling is now lowered from 110 down to 100%. Yep, an advanced server update is not complete without a Wanwan nerf.
What?
Next is the buff on Minsitthar. The developer said he's weak in the late game, so they will make the following changes. Additional 50 points of base damage on his second skill, and higher damage in the late game for his ultimate. That's an additional 10% attack scaling, so better damage output when you have a long game for Minsitthar. Next are the stronger minions and towers. The developer said they're further increasing the strength of super minions that spawn after the base tower is destroyed. Meanwhile, towers inside the base will have an increased HP of 6%. The minions were made stronger so that matches could end quickly, but to give a fair chance for comebacks, they've increased the base tower's durability. So once your inner towers are destroyed, comebacks will be harder. Next is the adjustment on the red buff's position and attack range. They made it smaller because some heroes can still attack these two creeps at the same time. I think it was X-Borg who can do that. Next is the adjustment on Radiant Armor. They removed the flat magic reduction it gives and replaced it with magic defense. It now grants 5 to 12 magic defense for each stack. So at full stacks, that's 72 magic defense. On the official server version, it directly removes magic damage taken, but on advanced server, it just adds magic defense. Remember, no more flat magic reduction. So is it better or worse? Will Kimi, Valier, and Chang'e players celebrate after this update? I think I'll have to make more tests to see the real effect. Next on our list is the improved Mythical Glory and Mythical Immortal icons. Can you see the difference? Last one is the update on draft pick bans. There will be 6 bans for epic rank, and then 8 bans for legend rank. Lastly, we have 10 bans for mythic. Interesting, right? You get to use fewer heroes as you rank up. And that's it for our weekly advanced server update. Are you excited about the 10 ban rule? Do you like the changes on Hayabusa? Share your thoughts in the comment section. That's all for this video. Stay safe and thank you for watching.